You're listening to Underestimated, the podcast that helps overwhelmed small business owners turn their size into their unfair advantage so they can grow without burning out. Now, here's your host, Shawna Suckow.
Have you ever wondered what it takes to drive loyalty with your customers that's so deep that they wouldn't leave you for another price or a massive company that's coming in to try to steal them away? I have the perfect guest to talk about this very thing today because he is leading his company through this very thing as we speak. So my guest today is Sandy Hendrick, and he's a friend of mine, and I could do my own introduction of him, but I'm going to read this because there are some things about him that I think are important to know that I didn't know. So Sandy Hendrick is the marketing manager at HTC, an internet service provider in Conway, South Carolina. With more than 27 years of experience in marketing, Sandy has helped guide product launches. He's led marketing campaigns and negotiated with all sorts of programming partners. He's passionate about community-driven marketing, and he continually challenges himself and his team to rethink how an ISP shows up locally, focusing on authentic connections rather than traditional telecom playbooks. And that is especially what caught my eye when I first started to get to know Sandy, because I spoke at a conference where we met, and he really stood out as somebody who was super approachable and somebody that also leads his team that way. And his team is not small. His company is not small in the traditional sense. So, Sandy, before we get started, I have to ask you about this fun fact that you shared. You were a two-time dance champion, and you once opened for the music group Three Doors Down.
That's correct. So my dancing experience came from my daughter years ago when she was in dance. We would travel around to different dance competitions. So one, I got to participate and was asked to be part of one of their dance routines. So it was a large group routine themed to the movie Ghostbusters. So I played my parts in that. But the champions came from going to the father-daughter dance. And thanks to her skills, and I utilized maybe some skills from some exercise videos to call them dance moves. We came out 2 years in a row, winning at the father-daughter dance competition.
How did the Three Doors Down thing come about?
So, me and four or three of my high school friends, when we got into college, we started a little, I'm kind of a garage grunge band. And we played various venues around the area from House of Blues, that time a couple other little smaller clubs. And we were good friends, or we knew connections at the radio station. So again, I think it all goes back to connections. You know, we can kind of hit on that later. But the radio station said Three Doors Down was coming in and needed an opening act. Would we like to play with them? So we got the opportunity to open up for them at the House of Blues here in Myrtle Beach.
That is so cool. That is super cool.
So
I never knew that about you. I thought maybe the dancing and the Three Doors Down opening were somehow tied together, and I was wondering about that. So
no, two totally separate things, but that's kind of, my claim to fame and then the one fun fact about me. So
that's super cool. Okay, so a little bit more about why I wanted to interview you for my audience of small business owners is that, as you and I have talked at length, like big business is like being big is not great these days because there's such an anti-big business sentiment, and distrust is growing. And the bigger your company is, the more the distrust is aimed at you. And I think you're at the tipping point. Now, I said that you are not by, my standards, a small business. How many employees do you have now at HTC?
so we're at 650.
Okay. And so I really thought, okay, you're going to be the perfect guest because you have been and still maybe are at that fork in the road where a company gets to a certain size and they really have to decide, are they going to become more homogenous, what I call beige, and just kind of become super professionally branded and kind of human, not human facing necessarily, just more the brand is the thing and the humans are kind of secondary? Or the other fork that you could choose, or the other side of that, is you retain your human focus, your community focus, and you hold on to that despite the pressures of the big branding and all of that that can really change who a small company is. So how long do you think you've been at that point where you've really started to feel the pressures?
So, from a competitive standpoint, the market's really heated up. I'd say the last 2 to 3 years. That's when timing became perfect. We've always had this sense of community. That's been kind of in our background and our DNA. We recently, our executive staff just kind of molded and came up with our revision to our mission statement. And within that mission statement, one of the things I love to say is nothing says that we're the lowest price provider, but it says that our goal is to enhance and enrich the lives of members we serve and improve the community. So, the great thing about even from our executive management, that's a philosophy we have of, hey, we want to provide exceptional service, but that's a piece of it. The other piece is definitely the community piece, being out there on that side. So, it comes from the top down, which makes my job fun because I'm not fighting against that. It's a whole corporate, philosophy.
That is amazing because to retain that philosophy, the bigger you get, is not always easy because, if you start to have shareholders that you have to answer to and things like that, the pressures are different. And but you're a co-op. You said members, and that reminded me that you're a co-op. Can you talk about that a little bit and how that has made your growth either easier or more challenging?
Yeah, so being a co-op, so of course that is member owned. The way we operate here is every member gets one vote. We still have an annual meeting every year that members are invited to come to vote on that. We have a board of directors, but our goal is it's not profit driven. So any profits that we have are distributed back either for improvement of the network or going back to our membership in the form of what we call capital credits. So what we love to say is, while we might not be the lowest price provider when you sign up day one, what other company is giving you a check back at the end of the year based on what you spent? And when we profit, you profit.
Yeah. And I think that is a huge distinction um, of your company from your competitors because you have all these Goliaths moving into Conway to try to steal your customers, and they are flashing lower prices. But we don't want to race to the bottom of the price heap. We can't win because they have such bigger budgets, teams, all of those things. They can absolutely, price you out of the market if that's your edge, but that's not your edge. Your edge is your community focus. So let's dive into that because for the listeners who are local or regional, I think this is a huge talking point and a huge point of differentiation if they leverage it. So we we talked about at the conference that we were both at, um, what was frustrating about your marketing before, like before, so you started a book study group. So let's talk about that as the line in the sand. So what was frustrating about your marketing before?
So there's a point, and so there's some balance there, but kind of such as the book, your book, Small is Your Superpower. You want to make your marketing look like everybody else. And at the end of the day, if that's what you're focusing on, then you said it and I'll say it. What sets you apart and makes you different?
Yeah.
And we even heard it, I think, at the last conference we were both at, and this is the same meeting. One of the things that came up, and it's a great example, we did it when we came back here, is they shared an experience of trying to find an internet provider in a market that they were unfamiliar with. I think there were 7 or 8 providers. They did an exercise of going to every website, um, and there was nothing on the website that set them apart on any of them. So they just went with who they knew. In our market, we've got a lot of people moving in. We're not outside of the region. We're not a national provider, so people may not know HTC. So we're actually investing a lot of time looking at our website now and saying, hey, we did this as an exercise of if you have speed, you have price, you have customer service, you have reliability. We had a list of about 7 topics. We had our own group judge what is the most important. At the end of the day, when we came back, we were all over the board. But then I posed the question, okay, hey, if we try to be everything to everybody, we're probably being nothing to anybody. So
Mhm.
what are the things we want to highlight? And that's where hopefully the more you go and see our website merge over time, it'll be about local and hitting those things that are who we are at the core that, and I tell people this is the hard part about all of it, and kind of that line in the sand that you have to get people past. You may not get everybody day one in a market that's competitive. If you're not the low price provider, you may miss some people because that's all they're looking for. Long term, I don't know if that's who you want because they're going to come and go constantly and you're going to be fighting the churn battle. But if you're true to who you are, and I think I've said this before, continue to build and tell your story. When they go with somebody else and see that's not exactly what they want, you might become the next choice because you've built that story. So I think that's the hard part. It's not going to be instant gratification all the time, but it's the long game that you're looking for.
Yeah, it's definitely the long game. When I think about like we think about like mobile companies. You can't really pick one out and say, oh, they're known for this. What they've become known for is their color. Like we know who the yellow company is, and we know who the pink mobile provider is, and we know, so you want to be so much more than the blue, logo that pops up when somebody searches in your area. And that's the thing that builds loyalty because I don't think people are loyal to those huge companies anymore because they don't trust them. And as soon as anything goes wrong, they're going to jump ship. But you're building something, you're building the long game, you're building something different. And that is how you show up in the community. So I don't want to spend too much time on this, but you did form a book club based on my book, which was a huge honor. Small is your superpower. But the point of that was you took like a 360-degree view of your company and who you had been and who you wanted to be. And you touched on that a little bit. What else did you find as you went through that and really took a look at who you were?
So it opened up the door on a lot of things. One example I'll give is you use a lot of humor in the book. And one of the things that we've always wanted to do was be a little bit more funny, kind of like what sets us apart. But you get in that kind of realm of like, hey, is that professional? Is that meet your brand? But we decided, hey, depending on the platform, you have the opportunity to be who you are, but you may speak differently in different platforms. And that was a great learning for us. And we've done that. So on our social media now, we're stepping out and being a little bit different. We started doing blogs that the tone's a little bit different and it's more fun. Got some humor, but it's still who we are. The way I explain it to people, it's no different than I am who I am. To my friends, I may talk one way. To my wife, I may talk one way, so kind of a different voice. But at the core, I'm still Sandy with the same values that I have. So that was a great thing that the book opened up for us to look at things that way.
And so speaking about the platforms, is it what types of things are you posting that you're seeing getting the most traction? And I know it's going to be different by platform, so just pick one and just give us some examples on what's working best for you.
So I'll give you two. So Facebook on the social media platform, that's one that we really tried to build on. That one, the biggest thing, another point from your book that we've helped or that's helped us, consistency. I think that's key too. We don't just throw up anything on Facebook. There's actually a team that meets monthly, has the entire calendar planned out, and it's consistent. But one of the things we found that was most rewarding to us was doing a flashback Friday. And it's just going through some of those old photos. And we get the most engagement off of those posts, which is really great. Whether it's former employees or families of employees, it's like, hey, that was such and such. So that part's been really good. So keeping some of that history is a great, reminder for everybody. Don't throw those things away. Save it somewhere. But then on LinkedIn, taking a business focus, we started doing what we call business member spotlights. The great thing about that is we go out and do an interview with businesses that are our members. In return, we don't charge them for it at all. So it's almost like a quick advertisement and they get a chance to come on, be interviewed all about their business, tell about it. They kind of close at the end on how they use our services. So it's a little plug to us. But then we put it out there. We let them know we're sharing it so they can take it and share it. And it helps kind of build the expansion that way.
And so that's a video type interview format.
Correct. And it came from we had a lady that we've partnered with for years. It kind of was a local celebrity in the area, and she did a show in the past called Inside Out for us. It was a 60-minute show, and it's like everything else. Um, you can't set it and forget it anymore in the world. Everything's changing. Paying money to do a 60-minute show didn't make a lot of sense anymore from the viewership we were gaining. But we love this lady. We were not going to, hinder that partnership. So we just got together and said, hey, we still want to pay you money. We've just got to find out how to get more value out of it. And that's where the idea came from doing the short segments that we pay her for now. And she does the interview for us, hands over the clip. So it works out good. It's just thinking differently.
Yeah. How many of those are you like, what's the frequency that you do those business spotlights on LinkedIn?
So we would typically do 5 to 6 a month. We hope next year, really exciting, will be our 75th anniversary. So we hope to take those business member spotlights and then go back and find members that may have been with us for 50 years or longer,
Wow.
and kind of that be the whole. So we tie the two together, and kind of make it a little bit bigger. So there could be more next year. I don't know if we'll do 75. That would be neat for the 75th, but we'll try to do some more.
That is so, I love that. I love that idea. So are you going to do like 75 of them?
So
Is
that's
that,
we might could do 52 since we were, started in 1952, even though it's our
oh,
75th. That may cut out, and help us get to that number.
yeah. I love that you just said might could. So my roommate in college was from South Carolina and she said that, and I have totally forgotten about that until you just
So,
said that. I love that so much.
hey, so she
Okay,
was a
so
Gamecocks. That's great.
uh, um no, but she was raised in a rural area
Yes.
where there wasn't she ended up going to Clemson. I'll just say it. She ended up going to
Oh,
Clemson. Um,
okay.
yeah, for grad school, but she and I went to school in Iowa, which is neither here nor
Okay.
there. But yeah,
Gotcha.
she was a fish out of water in Iowa
So,
with her southern phrases, but she had that charm. Anyway, let's go back to the book club. What were the things like? How did you separate the different groups? What were the different focuses in case anybody wants to do kind of a similar 360-degree view?
so I think part of it is we broke it up into a couple. We had about 3 or 4 sessions. Our team in marketing, there's 10 of us. So everybody, of course, got the book, and we would do it instead of reading the whole book. We would kind of break it up, a couple of chapters at a time. And then that way we would get together and talk about it. After the first lesson, we all got together and it got our mind thinking on how do we break up things? What are we already doing? I mean, I think that's what a lot of companies, as they read the book, okay, what are we doing? What are we doing well? And then what are things that we can enhance? That was kind of the first project there. And we took it from there and broke up into a couple of different things. Video was one of the things, back to the business owner spotlight. We do a lot of video. But we want to put a lot of strategy to video as part of our content mix. So I kind of led a path down there. We led a path down brand. Again, back to being very consistent in the brand, but like I mentioned earlier, opening up the door to extend that voice, to do a couple things a little different and test and try those. And then events was one of the things that came out of. We had a group. We have had as part of community that we focus on. We do over 100 events per year that we're at, not just sponsorships, but events that we're actually there in person. But an idea came out of this on, reading some of the things. We called it our out of the blue events. And those are just the random kind of pop up things to where we kind of surprise and delight people out of the blue. And we've done a few of them. They've been, I'll say, if you're expecting to go and do some of those and hit the thousands of people like you would find at a festival, probably not what you're going to find. But we did one and probably had 25 people come to it. But the conversations we had from those 25, and the things we were able to accomplish, you hope continues to spread. They tell the next person, and then so forth. So I will tell you, if anybody's doing this, don't look at, hey, we went to a festival and saw 1,000 people. We did this event and got 25, so we're not going to do this event anymore. Those 25 will add up.
Yeah, and you've done some smaller activations around town that I know have been hugely impactful, and they create more momentum for your marketing and for your social media and more buzz around town than maybe some of the huge events where there are so many other companies there. You kind of can get lost, and those huge events are expensive. So what's an example of like an inexpensive, smaller event that you feel like really was so impactful for the money?
So I'll tell you about a larger one that gets us to the smaller one and how they
Yeah.
connect. So we have a program called Real Kids. This year was its 25th year. We partner with every single school in our service area from, elementary, middle to high school, and one student is nominated from each school. It's really a student that's kind of overcome something, and has really shown a leadership. So the REAL stands for Recognizing Extraordinary Examples of Leadership. They will come in. Typically the teacher or guidance counselor that sponsor them will do a quick video. We put that 2 to 3 minute video up. It's kind of their opportunity. They may never get something like this before. And then we'll do a large, I'll call it a celebration. It used to be a ceremony. We like to call it a celebration now. We've actually partnered the last 2 years with Medieval Times Dinner Show.
Uh-huh.
And we have the entire place rented out just for us. And they get a private show where all the students get to come in, their sponsor, their families, and enjoy that. They get a medal. And then at the end, we surprise them with an iPad. So I
Oh my
told you about
God.
this. I told you about this large event that we've done, that we've really kind of, take it to heart, and it's, so emotional, and we love doing it,
Yeah.
with our connections with the school. This year we had a young lady that was one of our nominees. She had passed away from cancer before the ceremony. So we wanted to do something, in her honor. So we reached out to her parents. She was in the Girl Scouts. So we were able to partner with them and we bought several hundred cookies from the Girl Scouts. But what we did with the cookies is then we went farther and these pop-up events, we would go and work with the Girl Scouts as they were selling cookies. And every
Oh,
time they would sell a box, we would donate a box. And the box that we would donate would have a QR code on it that would take people back to learn more about the Real Kids program. So at the end of that, we were then able to take some cookies and partner with a local ice cream shop that had a Girl Scouts night specifically with us. They created a Girl Scout cookie ice cream, and then all the sales that night went back to this Girl Scout troop. So the PR value again, small little things.
yeah.
It took a couple hours of time to go out, and work with these Girl Scouts. They're sharing the story. The news is picking up the story. We're sharing the story. Now the ice cream shop's sharing it.
Yeah.
So all these things just came together. And at the end of it, we had a few cases of cookies left. We donated it to the Blue Star Moms that then took it and sent it around to some of the local veterans
Oh
here.
my.
So it was just a full circle of, one thing led to another. But one, it was an internal feel good, but the PR value I think we got from it was amazing.
Yeah, and I love how it extended beyond just the one thing. So that's why I really want to convey to the listeners is if you don't have the money for a huge big thing, it doesn't have to be that. You could have just started with a Girl Scout troop and started there and started small and just, made a donation of cookies or just help them sell, or it can be something small, but it can still have a huge impact, like the ice cream night. The ice cream night
Yeah.
wasn't playing off of the ceremony. It was, kind of it came from that, but it wasn't necessarily part of the same thing, and it could have stood alone.
Yeah, I'll tell the listeners on this one, don't overthink it. These are some events too, these little things that you might just be listening to the radio station or watching the local news, and there's something that you're like, oh no, wait a minute. We could partner with that. That's a great idea. And it just a spur of the moment kind of catches you. Um, and if you overthink it, I think you'll overplan and overanalyze and never do it. But I think, find a
Right.
couple of those things and just do it. And it's like I told you before, maybe you do 10 of those and five of them don't really work out like you wanted, but you find five that really do. Well, then
Yeah.
what's the next 10 you can do? And if you get five more out of that, again, you didn't spend too much. That's marketing. You got to test and try.
Yeah.
And it's not like, hey, you did some, $25,000 event that didn't work. You did a
Right.
couple $100 event to try it. So.
Yeah. Can you please tell the story of my favorite one with the dogs and the pizza? Because dogs.
Sure. So that's a perfect segue because that actually went to on Facebook one day, just scrolling through Facebook. We have a local pizza shop. He's won several awards, so he got really popular in the area lately. Actually would have some lines around it. And he just had on Facebook one day that he was doing a bring your dogs into the pizza shop and get their picture with Santa. And so, because of their popularity, they were a member of ours. One of our team members went down there and said, "Hey, we'd love to partner with you on this night. We'll either pay for everybody to get their photo for free, we'll cover the cost of it, or we'll make an extra donation while we're in there." So, very simple. The cost of it is we actually bought a $100 gift card from this pizza place. So, everybody that came in, we asked them when they got photos just to share their photo. And then everybody that would share the photo would kind of be entered to win the $100 gift card. We turned around and to the local, it was a Safe Haven was the name of the animal charity. And
Hmm.
so we just made a donation to it. So look, we like making donations to the community anyway. So it was just, again, wasn't one of those where hundreds of people showed up, but the impact of one, our relationship with the business owner. He sees that, hey, I'm giving y'all business. Y'all want to turn around and do stuff with me. So we've made that connection. He shared it on his post where everybody was already, so popular and following him. The Safe Haven was there, so we made a connection with them. They're sharing it on their post. And then you had another 20 or 30 people sharing from the photos, and that was for a few $100s.
Yeah, I mean, that would cost if you were to pay all of those businesses and people to do that. Yeah, and you would probably have not have gotten the same amazing results that you did. And it was just was that an out of the blue?
It
Like
was. It was
you
just kind
didn't
of a random
promote
out of the
it.
blue. That
Yeah,
literally happened, and that was planned within 2 days of the event.
yeah,
Saw it, and I was like, "Hey, you think we can pull this off?" And I was like, "Sure." That's not a lot to it. We printed up some stuff with the QR codes on it, for people to scan and kind of get back the information we wanted to share. But
yeah.
like I said, you don't have to overthink these.
No, you can just do today's, let's say today's Sunday, you could do something on Thursday, you could do something on Tuesday. It's not about perfection, it's about doing the thing. It's just about showing up and being part of your community and not once a year and an expensive once a year. It's an inexpensive consistency that also feeds your social media and your reputation consistently.
Yep, you're right
So
on it.
I just wanted to comment. So you said on the Girl Scout cookie boxes, you put a QR code, and I especially appreciate that the QR code wasn't just an advertisement for HTC. I think you got more mileage by saying, "Hey, look into this program," and that provided more goodwill and more, feel good, all that stuff, than if you would have said, "Hey, sign up now and save 20%," which is our tendency to want to do. But you didn't do that. Why did you choose that direction?
So I think in everything you do, I'll go back. What is your goal that you're trying to accomplish out of it? So going back to, yes, at the end of the day, our goal is want to sell internet service. But again, as I told you, as part of our mission, it's also serving the community, and we feel we can sell internet service by serving our community. So to your point, I think you hit it. If these things, if all we were trying to do is sell every time we win, I mean, that's the mentality that we don't have. This is not a sales event. Anything we're doing is just about building that buzz, that PR, back to telling the story of who we are. And that was a piece of the story, and that was the goal of this is, hey, one, this little girl passed away. Our goal was not to take advantage of that as far as an opportunity to make a sale. We thought it was more important that, hey, we honored her by getting people there to see the real kids and kind of learn about her story. To your point, that goodwill and everything we feel will come back to us in the long run. So I
Yeah.
think everyone's different, and you have to look at what the opportunity is. Even one of the things we're doing now, and it's the simple things that I tell people to focus on, back to the content that we do on social. We've done a great job of building out content, but I'm having my group look at it now because I do think there's some of those areas that we can improve that where it's, we're promoting a service that most of our members already have. But when the link goes, it's going right back to our internet site and says sign up for $49.95. And I'm like, well, if these are our own members and we're promoting a service, then we need to send them to a different link that's more about education on the benefits of what they already have versus trying to show them a sales price that they can't get. So sometimes it's those set it and forget it that you kind of forget about. But I encourage everybody to go back and kind of just the small things check, make sure are you tweaking the dial, so to speak.
So what's on your horizon coming up that is exciting for you as far as like events or a new initiative, anything like that?
So the great thing is last year we expanded into some new markets. So that was really fun. And within that new market, the area was actually called Surfside Beach. So they have a surf festival that was there. So of course, strategically, we spent a lot of time trying to find things in the Surfside market, build our name there, and show them that we're part of the community.
Yeah.
And so part of that's done a lot of things. One of the things that was very simple that one of our teammates did is he went out and there's a local organization there that has all the businesses. They're very tight knit in that community, get together once a month and share ideas how they can help each other. And then they vote on kind of like a business of the month. So we've gone out now and bought gift cards from various businesses within that market. And then we donate those gift cards. So every month when there's a business picked, we're the one kind of supplying the gift, but it's from other businesses within that market. So again, very simple on that. But the exciting part is we're moving into North Myrtle Beach. I'm doing the same thing with expansion. So you're going into a new market. We've got the opportunity of finding those new things now. What's the festivals that the locals enjoy there that we can become a part of. So we're kind of in our exploratory phase right now. But the cool thing, I'll go back to Surfside for just a moment. That was really cool about that. This was something I'd always wanted. At the surf festival, the prize that they would give to the winners of the surf competition was a new surfboard. So we were able to work with the promoters, and the surfboard that was given was an HTC branded surfboard. So I now have one sitting in my office that they had an extra one made. And as crazy as it sounds, I just wanted always an HTC surfboard. I don't surf, but I thought it'd be really cool. People walk by, it's a talking point. So that was kind of, fun and exciting and totally different from what you would expect.
That is totally different. And now you have a surfboard in your office. It's in your
So
office.
it's in my office with the HTC on it. So yeah.
That's cool. Okay, so second to last question. What advice do you have for businesses that are approaching the fork in the road where they're growing and their tendency is we need to start to look more professional, more like our huge competition versus, or do we hold on to who we are and we might lose people because we don't look like those other companies? What's your advice for them?
So overall, I can give you advice from an HTC perspective. I think every business could be different,
Sure.
depending on what your goals and everything are. Um, but I really think, one of the things on the advice is none of this can come from just the marketing department. All this has to come from, and again, every company on this, may be of different sizes. We're at 650. This has to be a concept that's shared internally as well. So, one of the things that I would advise, if marketing feels this is the right way to go on kind of, I don't want to say veering away from professional, but having that, what makes us stand out, what makes us different. Um, Not only do you tell that story externally, you've got to tell that story internally. I think that's the biggest thing to make sure people understand the why, they're on board with it, and they're bought into it. And so my piece of advice to get people bought into it is don't just tell them about it, bring them in early on what you're doing and why. Because if you just tell them about it, then they feel, hey, this is just marketing sitting in the glass castle, and just telling us what to do. Bring them in early on, get them invested in it. And I think that's what'll help you kind of sell that in the long run if that's the route you feel you need to go as your company.
I think that's fantastic advice. And the last question is perhaps the most important one that you'll maybe have all day, maybe all week. Dogs or cats?
Oh, dogs all day long.
That's another reason why I like you, Sandy. Thank you so much for being my guest. I think your advice has been phenomenal for so many of the listeners out there who might be approaching this fork or maybe right in it right now. Or they're just looking for ways to extend their small budget and get more out of it. So just want to thank you for being my guest, Sandy. You've been amazing.
Anytime. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
And this has been another episode of Underestimated. We will see you next time.
Thanks for listening to Underestimated, hosted by Shawna Suckow. To connect with Shawna, go to thebuyerinsider.com.